it's always been a community and family, but we've grown building-wise. We've grown spirit-wise. We feel like if you can compare us to other campuses, other college campuses, and you feel the college life here, but at the same time you feel the family life. And so it's really remarkable at the students. I look at students now and I see myself in them, and like how they're doing and how I was back then. And I was like, I remember, and it just brings joy to my heart.
This is Dan Garcia, a University of St. Thomas alumnus and the director of the Rising Stars program. In this episode of Bold, we talk about his mission of helping students and how he lives out that mission through the Rising Stars program. We also talk about his journey as a first-generation college student and how much he loves UST. But before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and YouTube at Mac Studio UST to stay in the loop and get a behind-the-scenes sneak peek at everything that we're working on. Now, let's jump into this episode of Bold with Dan. Hey Dan, how are you?
Good, how are you today?
Good, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Oh, thanks. So can you give us a little bit introduction, tell the people about yourself?
I'm Dan Garcia. I'm the director for the Rising Stars program here at the University of St. Thomas. I'm a two-time alum, class of 2001, and then my master's degree in 2009. I've served as president of the alumni board for a couple of years, and I was on the alumni board of directors for 9 years. And then in 2020, I was named the Father Guinan Alumni of the Year. So I bleed red and gold here.
Wow. So you've been, ever since you graduated, you've been like super involved with UST.
Very much, very much. When I started in 94, I fell in love with the school, and I started out full time for a few years, and then had to go to work. So the rest of my undergrad career was part time. But ever since graduation, I've been somehow involved with UST, and I consider it my second home.
Yeah. Why did you fall in love with UST in the first place?
Interesting story. When I moved here from Los Angeles, I was a junior in high school when I moved here, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to college or anything like that. And interestingly enough, I applied to UST because I didn't think I was going to get accepted, and I just wanted to go to work. And I applied to show my mom that I wasn't going to get into UST. And then I got the acceptance letter, and my mom was like, well, this is where you're going to go. And it was probably the best decision in my life. My first day here, I came on campus to turn in paperwork for orientation, and I had no clue where I was at. And a random student walked up to me because he noticed that I was lost, and he was like, hey, can I help you find something? And I told him where I was there, and he walked me over to Murphy Hall back then because that's where registration and all that was. And then he walked me around the entire campus and showed me the campus. And it was at that point I was like, well, maybe I should give this school a try. And that's all I needed to be here and fall in love with the school and be very involved. And this is why I still do what I do, because of that moment that I chose to be here, because I felt like it was accepting it as a family. And
that's incredible, because I still feel like that's the experience here now. So
yeah.
I love that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's very much a family environment, and I was blessed to be able to get a job up here and still do what I love in helping students.
And so how was your experience being at UST in your undergrad?
Being at UST was quite the experience, especially the first few years. I'm a first-generation student. I'm the first person in my entire bloodline to go to college. Had no idea what was going on. Had a little too much freedom, got in a little bit of trouble sometimes, but it was a learning experience. But no matter what the situation was I was in here, there was always a support system to help me. Whether it be campus ministry, student activities, there was always someone there willing to help me and give me a shot. And so I fell in love with that, and it felt like a family to me. It was my second family, because all I have here is my parents and my brother. All the rest of my family lives in Los Angeles. So this was my second home. And so my experience was always great with professors and with faculty and staff. So I really love it. And I still, to this day, I think it's one of the best experiences that we have.
Dang, yeah. And how has USC changed from your undergrad until now?
UST has definitely grown. When I was here in the 90s, a lot of the buildings that are here now weren't here before. I had a lot of classes in houses, the math house, Shadwell for English classes, things like that. But one of the things that never changes is the community. Mm-hmm. we've grown a little bit size-wise, but when I was here, everybody knew everybody. So if you made friends with everybody, all the professors, they would give us their home phone numbers if we needed help. They'd be like, yeah, go ahead and give us a call as long as it's before 9 o'clock. And so it's always been a community and family, but we've grown building-wise, we've grown spirit-wise. We feel like if you can compare us to other campuses, other college campuses, and you feel the college life here, but at the same time you feel the family life. And so it's really remarkable at the students. I look at students now and I see myself in them, and like how they're doing and how I was back then. And I was like, I remember, and it just brings joy to my heart.
That's such a good way to put it. And like yesterday was my first day of school, and my professor was like, this is my home phone number. Like, just don't text. It's a landline. Yeah. So it's the same thing. And I just love how it's like you said, like it may look different, but like the community and like spirit is still there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed, and I enjoy being here. I think this is my last job, I hope.
Really?
Well, I just want to stay here and retire from UST doing what I do.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Like I said, I love this place. This is my home, and everyone leaves home every once in a while, but everyone comes back home, and I feel like I've come back home the last couple of years.
So you're a first generation student. How was that experience like?
That I remember feeling lost. No one in my family knew anything about college, and so you have to learn to navigate. You have to learn to push through. And so luckily now with like Rising Stars, we have resources that help students push through. And so, but you come in on an island. You're on an island. A lot of things that I preach to students now is that you feel like you're on an island when you come in here because you don't know anyone else that's like you. And so I didn't know anyone else that was like my situation. I didn't know anyone else that was first generation. Coming from, we had humble beginnings in LA, and so you feel that, but you also feel a little bit of the imposter syndrome, like, do I belong here? And so it's rough. It's rough for a first generation student, especially if you come from a low income background. You don't feel like you belong. You don't know that other people are around you like you because no one talks about it. And so it's important to help train these students to feel okay with talking about it and okay with looking for other people like them to form a community. And so it's a rough start, but once you start to get community and groups around you that are like you, you work together as a team and you thrive. And so that's what we do here.
At Rising Stars? At
Rising Stars, but at UST in general.
Yeah.
We have the community houses, the different organizations on campus. So you always have a place to be at UST, and so I think that's what helps a first generation student here.
That's amazing. What advice do you have to like students that are like, maybe I don't know if college is for me? Like, what advice do you have for students?
Have confidence in yourself. I always say if you can get into St. Thomas, you can make it here. We don't just let everyone in, so there's a process to get in. But even bigger than that is don't be afraid to ask for help. I've been recently placed in charge of recruiting for HISD, helping St. Thomas recruit for HISD, and I have a couple of admissions counselors helping me. We have a program called the St. Thomas Promise, which essentially is if you have a 3.4 GPA or higher and you're qualified for a Pell Grant and you have $40,000 or less in family income, you can come to St. Thomas completely free. So,
what?
And this year we're recruiting, hopefully we'll hit 200 plus students that are all going to have free educations here at St. Thomas for next fall of 23.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it's in the biggest burden for a first generation or low income student is how am I going to pay for this? We've eliminated that. And so at that point, you just need to focus on your education, focus on your grades, and everything else will be taken care of.
So you're super dedicated to students. You're always giving back. Your mission is helping students, right?
Correct.
Why? Why is that?
So a lot of it is partly because of where I came from and the story I told about not knowing it and someone helped me. My first job out of UST in 2001 was down the street at HCC, working with a program called Upward Bound, which helps first generation high school students navigate through high school with the primary goal of getting to college.
Okay.
And so I worked with 4 or 5 different high schools in the HISD area, and I did that for 22 years. I worked my way up to start running these programs. And so I've always felt in my heart that I don't want other people to feel the way I felt my first day of school, and we have some amazing students in the Houston area who are just a little afraid to come here because, we are, I call ourselves the Harvard of the South. So we are an elite university, and it can be intimidating for a student when you come from a background where all your family ever did was work. Yeah. And so I do this work for first-gen students and for low-income students because I don't want them to feel lost, and I want them to achieve the best that they can. A lot of times what I preach to my rising stars is that I'm not here to get them their grades. They got into St. Thomas. They're very capable of getting the grades. I'm here to make them the best versions of themselves possible by the time they graduate. And so that's guidance, that's helping them out, that's buying them a meal when they don't have a meal. And so it's all the little things that add up that help these students succeed. And so that's my life's work, and it'll be my life's work till I retire.
So you mentioned it before, but what is the Rising Stars program?
So the Rising Stars program is a academic corporate internship program for first-generation students and students that qualify for Pell Grant. What we do is we bring in these students. They get into St. Thomas as the first hurdle. But after that, they apply for my program. They interview with us. And then what we do is once they get into the program, we find a corporate sponsor to look at these students and match with them. The corporations will sponsor $6,000 towards their tuition. And then they get an additional $14,000 or the higher scholarship that they have. So if they have the presidential scholarship, they keep that scholarship, and then they get the additional $6,000 for the internship.
That's huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the majority of my students have full tuition here because you match that with the Pell Grant and any other grants they qualify for. They're paying very minimal cost for UST. And the part 2 of my why I do what I do, I came out of UST with a lot of student loans. Not knowing what a student loan was, I would just take the money. And so right now we're putting students through a 4-year program coming out practically debt-free. So financial burden is no longer an obstacle for students to get into UST. And they're getting 4 years of internship experience doing what they're studying. So we have over 60 companies right now that sponsor students. Energy companies, educational institutions, Houston Methodist, MD Anderson, whatever the student wants to study, we find them a job in that capacity, and they work 8 to 10 hours a week during the academic year getting that experience. So the goal of this program is that when you graduate, 1, you're the best version of yourself, but 2, you have a job right out of college, or you have a really good looking resume, so it won't be that difficult to find a job. And, this was all an idea from the chairman of the board of UST, Curtis Huff. He saw that this program was at Cristo Rey High School and it was helping Cristo Rey students work. He said, why can't we bring that to the university level? So he's the one that spearheaded it and started it, and he's one of our biggest supporters. And, it's because of him that we're able to help these students.
Dang. So not only are you helping students in college, but you're getting them ready for...
Correct. Yeah, we're preparing them for life. And I have 3 staff members in my office, Yesenia and Katia, and our role is to find ways to train them, but also when they're struggling navigating life in college, we're like the helping hand. We don't do the work for them, but we help them make the right decision. And so by doing this, by practicing this constantly, the students are subconsciously learning how to make these decisions themselves. We boasted from last fall to spring a 98% retention rate, which is unheard of for low-income first-generation students.
Yeah.
It's usually 60 to 70. So when you put support systems like us in place and you have an environment like UST, we can keep these students here. We can graduate them in 4 years. And so that's what I love about my job, is just watching these students grow and graduate. I'll have my first graduating class this year. It's going to be 9 students. 3 of them from the original 5 that joined the program, and then we brought in a few more seniors. So this year will be the first Rising Star graduating class.
That's huge for you. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I love it, and it's just us holding their hands and helping them. It's the students that deserve the congratulations because they worked hard and they got the job done, and to graduate in 4 years is amazing.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your work. I'm like shocked right now. I'm so impressed with everything that you do.
Well, thank you. I like I said, I love doing it. I love helping, and I appreciate the invite to be up here to talk a little bit about it.
Of course. Stay bold, my friends.